In this video, I will be explaining why your low-content books aren't selling. Hello home bosses, my name is Nuria Corby from thehomeboss.com. Welcome to my channel, which is all about helping you to make money online through self-publishing. And today I want to talk to you about why so many of you have books that aren't selling. I get a lot of emails from people saying, I've created these low-content books and they're not selling. What can I do? And the first thing that I want to say is we're going to be talking about low-content books. We're not talking about fiction or non-fiction. And the reason for that is because it's very, very different to sell fiction or non-fiction books. So today I want to focus on low content. And for all of you who don't know what low-content books are, maybe you're new to the channel, low-content books are things like planners, journals, notebooks, even guided journals or logbooks. Things like that are all low content. They're books that are not written by an author, but they are designed, and they're designed for the consumer or the buyer to write in. And you don't have to write anything to publish a book like that. So let me tell you what I think the reasons are for some people when their books are not selling. And the number one reason that I always say is because people are not making unique books. So what happens is when they watch one of my videos or one of the many other videos on YouTube that explain how to make a notebook and sell it on Amazon KDP, what people normally do is they go on Amazon and they have a look at the books that are already published on Amazon, and they think, this is a nice and easy notebook. I can make something very similar, and I'll try my luck with that. I see hundreds of blood pressure logbooks, for example. They're very popular to make because they're easy to make, and it's easy to put a book like that on Amazon. But of course, there are many, many books like that already on Amazon, and unless you make a really outstanding cover or you make something that is very different to the books out there on Amazon, it's going to be difficult to make those sales. And that's why I always say, by all means, make those books when you're first starting, because that is how you learn the process. So you can start with a simple notebook. There's absolutely no problem doing that. And I recommend that you do start with a simple notebook or with something very simple so that you learn the process of uploading, the process of designing your cover, and you can use ready-made interiors for your books. So for example, if you follow my video series that teaches you how to upload your first notebook on Amazon KDP, I provide a free lined notebook interior because they're all the same. A notebook is a notebook, and all you have to do is then create your cover and upload this to Amazon KDP. So that is a really easy way to get started because it's more or less done for you, and all you have to do is design the cover. And that is a really good way to start also because the cover is really important. And that brings me to the second point, the covers. The covers are sometimes not the way they should be. They're sometimes not the best quality. And by that I mean that a lot of people make books and, for example, their titles aren't really centered in the book. When you upload it, you can sometimes see that, it's not in the center, or maybe it's not a design that is usual for this type of book. So you do need to learn a little bit about cover design to be able to make covers that sell. It's not as easy as just making a plain cover and then putting some text on it, and that is your title. Those days are over. I know that in the past people were selling books like that, but I think it's a lot more competitive now, and your cover has to really stand out to be able to sell your book. So the first thing is obviously then to create books that are unique, that are not already out there on Amazon. Don't make the same type of books that are there, and make your covers really good. Make your covers the best that they can be. Now, when you're first starting, both of those things are not going to be your strong point. Sometimes we start by making the type of books that are already on Amazon, and that's absolutely fine. What I will say to you is when you're doing that, don't expect any sales. Remember that you're learning and you're practicing. And if you are putting out books because you're practicing and learning, that is fine. Just don't expect sales to come in for those type of books. And as long as you do that, as long as you make your first books and you're thinking, I'm not expecting to get many sales for these books, I'm just going to try and make the best book that I can with my skills, then that is fine. And the more you make your books, the more you will learn the process and the better you will get at design and at making those kind of books. And that is why when people say to me, I've made 3 low content books, I've put them on Amazon and they're not selling, I do feel that your expectations are too high at that point. I think making 3 books, if you've never made books before, it's very difficult that you're going to get sales because you're still practicing, you're still getting good at design. So some people can do it. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Some people make 1 book and it starts selling because they're making a really good book, and for some reason they have tapped into some kind of niche that people are buying books in. So it can work, but that is not the norm. The norm is that you need to make quite a few books to get good at it. And that brings me to the next point, and that is, if you are able to tap into a niche that is underserved, if you are able to find a really good niche that there aren't many books in and that people really want to buy, then of course that will bring you the sales. And to be able to do that, you have to have good market research. And I've got lots of videos on how to research your niches on Amazon, but I feel that some people are still not learning how to do that properly. I think people are too focused on using tools that can tell you a little bit about the niche, and that is fine. There are many really helpful tools on the market. I use Publisher Rocket. I use the Self-Publishing Titans tools. They are excellent tools for niche research, but you also have to use your own common sense. You know, you can't just rely on those research tools and not use your own common sense as well. That is very important, because the thing that I find is the books that really sell for me are the books where I understand the niche. And by that I mean that I understand my target audience. So if you can make books in niches that you know about, and maybe they're books that you need for your job or for your hobby or for your studies, and if you're making those books to help you and you know that niche, then those books are good books because you are helping people with the kind of books that you are creating. And books are always made for different reasons, or people buy books for different reasons. They either buy books to help them, or they buy books to entertain them, or they buy books to give as gifts to people. So those 3 things are really important when it comes to selling books. So you really have to study your audience and why are they buying your book? Are they buying it because your book is going to help them in some way, or are they buying your book because they want to be entertained? Maybe your book is funny. Maybe your book is a good gift for one of their friends because maybe they know a friend who really likes, I don't know, flying drones or something like that, and you are making a book that is a lookbook for flying drones. You have to think about your audience and why people would buy your book and not the other books on Amazon, because your book will have competition. There are very few niches with no competition. All of the books that you're going to make will have competition, and you really have to stand out. So that is another reason I find that people are making books that are not standing out from all the other books. So making books that stand out and that are different from the ones on Amazon is a really big issue that I find people are not doing enough. And it happens with all kinds of books. It can happen with coloring books, with planners, with puzzle books, with log books. If you are making a book based on another book that is already on Amazon, the chances are that your book is not going to sell because you're competing with a book that already has reviews, that has already been on Amazon for some time. They might be advertising their books. And if you have a new book, Amazon will promote a new book at first for a little bit. But if your book doesn't get sales in that time, then it will drop down in the rankings on Amazon. So you do need to make your book unique and different to the other ones out there. And I just mentioned that the other books out there in your niche, in your category, your competition might be advertising. And this brings me to my next point, and that is marketing. You have to market your books. There are very rare books that sell without marketing. I mean, the normal situation is that when you are making a book for Amazon KDP, unless you pay for ads or unless you market your book in another way through social media or through other methods, it will be hard to make sales. Saying that, again, there are exceptions. There are some books that make those sales without any marketing, and they're pretty special books. They must be really good quality in niches that have little competition. It is possible to do that. But the most likely scenario is that your books will not sell without some kind of marketing. And the easiest way to market your books is by using Amazon ads. But that costs money. So it depends on your budget. If you can afford to run ads, then that is always the easiest and best method. But there are many other ways to market your books. You can use social media. You can create a brand and market your books that way. And I talk about branding on my channel. I've got a book about branding as well on Amazon. And there are many ways you can build a brand and market your books in that way, which is a free way of doing it. So there is a lot of work involved in selling books. So creating your book is just the beginning. And then, of course, you have to market your book, which is more work. So there is a lot of work behind selling books. And another thing that might help you sell your books is a good pricing strategy. Now, I always say that it doesn't really mean that your books should be cheap to make sales. Sometimes it's actually better if your books are slightly more expensive to make sales. And the reason for that is because when you have a book that is unique, that has a great cover, that is a great niche or a great topic, people will buy that book. And if they then see that your book is very cheap compared to all the other books, they will choose a slightly more expensive book because they think that the more expensive book is better quality. And that happens quite a lot. I know that a lot of people don't think that. A lot of people prefer to price their books cheaply to compete with other books. And that's what you can do when your book is the same as other books. The thing you can then compete with is price. So in those cases, making your book cheaper is a good strategy. But if your book is a really good book and it can hold its own and it's a good cover and it's good quality, there's absolutely no problem with a higher price strategy, because that's what I do on some of my books, and people will still buy those books. And especially if your book has reviews, you can then charge a little bit more for your books. And don't be afraid to increase your prices every year, because everything else is going up in life. Prices are rising and people are kind of expecting everything to go up. So as books are kind of like a luxury item, I don't class them as a luxury item. I think they're essential sometimes, especially educational books are an essential item. But if your books can be classed as a luxury item, something that people buy for pleasure rather than out of necessity, then you can afford to price your book a little bit higher. I know not everybody agrees with that, and that is fine. This is just one of the strategies that I use and that works for me. But you can experiment with your books and maybe find a different pricing strategy. And actually, it would be quite interesting to know what your pricing strategies are. So if you want to leave that in the comments, I would love to read about it and see what you do with your prices. And I think that kind of wraps up the reasons why many books aren't selling. For me, it really is an issue with the cover design, or it's an issue with not creating unique books. I always say make books in niches that you understand, because then you're kind of an expert in that book, and that's so important. But if it's a niche that you don't know much about, you can really research that niche. And that is one of the things I love about making these types of books, because I think that I'm learning quite a lot as I go along. So I'm learning a lot about other niches, and the more you learn about them, the better your books will be. So those are the main reasons for me that I think why books don't sell, why your low content books don't sell. Let me know what you think about this. Why do you think your books might not be selling? There's always a solution to everything. If your books aren't selling, try something different. Try and see if any of the things that I mentioned could apply to your books, and make a decision to make different books or change. I know people are saying, I've got about 300 books and they're not selling. Well, if you have 300 books, which is quite a lot, and they're not selling, then you have to try something else, because it looks like you're not making the right kind of books for your market, or maybe your covers need work. There is some kind of problem with them. But don't let that discourage you either, because some people need to make a lot of books to get good at it. I needed to make quite a few books before I started to get good at making books. So don't let that put you off. We are learning as we go along. And if you have made any changes and that has helped you selling more books, let us know in the comments so that we can all learn from you. And if you want to know more about how to make low content books for Amazon KDP, and you want to learn how to make your first notebook and upload it onto Amazon, I leave you with a playlist up here that you can watch and make your first notebook and put it on Amazon KDP. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.